Act, SB 1439, compliance for Department of Arts and Culture applicants to the Department of Arts and Culture's grant program. So this is the Arts Internship Program, the Organizational Grant Program, and the Community Impact Arts Grants. This is not part of the Advancement Grant, which is another grant we have for school districts. That will be a separate webinar when we reopen that application. We'll send out this deck, but there's some links here to the sample form as well as an FAQ. As part of our process, this is the first webinar of the grant season. We're going to have another webinar and some office hours. As part of each one of those, we will be going through an iterative process to add questions, great questions that you all come up with, to our FAQ that will be posted to that is currently posted to our website. So that is a living document so that we're providing as much information as we can. And then for those who haven't already, this is the application for the online application portal. We use SM Apply, and we try to make it as easy as possible for you to fill out your grant applications on there. Okay. So you're going to see this more than once. It's important, and the legal disclaimer here, because this is a state law that we're working through compliance on. The workshop is intended for use by applicants for a grant issued by the County of Los Angeles through the Department of Arts and Culture and does not constitute legal advice. So if some of your questions, I may defer back to you to check in with the appropriate individuals for your organization, because we can't really answer specific questions about organizations. We can answer, to the best of our ability, questions about the content of the questions, but beyond that. And if you have further questions, there's the Fair Political Practices Commission contact information there, who will help people through this, and our website where we're posting all of the information around the Levine Act. You probably have already been here because you're now in this room. Okay, come on. All right. Pardon me while I read this, but I think it will be important. What is the Levine Act? SB 1439 amends Government Code Section 84308, also known as the Levine Act, of the Political Reform Act to prohibit certain appointed and elected local officers, including members of the board, from taking part in a proceeding involving a license, permit, or other entitlement for use, including most contracts. If the officer has received a contribution of more than $250 from a party, participant, or an agent in the proceeding within the preceding 12 months. An officer is also prohibited from soliciting or directing a contribution while the proceeding is pending. An officer is also prohibited from accepting, soliciting, or directing a contribution of more than $250 from a party or participant in the proceeding for 12 months after a final decision is rendered. For local elected officers, the law only applies to contributions made after January 1st, 2023. That is a lot. So what this is making sure that there is, in a nutshell, this is avoiding pay to play. This is making sure that people aren't funneling donations to county officers or people who are running for office or things like that to curry favoritism on any contracts they may be competing for. In this case, it would be the grant applications that you would be competing for. Okay. So part of your grant application, we're going to be collecting some information from you around contributions that are made to officers, and what will we do with that information is, I think, a big question. So the information we provide, that you provide on the form, is really for compliance purposes only. The information on the form will be kept on file by the Department of Arts and Culture and the Executive Office of the Board of Supervisors, who is administrating the Levine Act compliance. and it will be analyzed to determine if any supervisors or other officers must recuse themselves from participating in the grant approval process. Essentially, is that through the grant approval process, there's panels, and then there's a final approval of the grants. If one of the grantee organizations had contributions of more than $250, it may be that, depending on the circumstances and what the data says, that if your organization is in the 5th district and your organization, people from your organization gave over that $250 threshold, 5th district supervisor may need to recuse themselves from the proceedings, just to avoid conflicts of interest and either pay to play or the appearance of pay to play. Both are very important in this. The other question about your grant application specifically: will the information be reviewed as part of the evaluation or the scoring of my grant application? The answer is no. The information in this form and all the information that we're collecting will not be included in the panelist review process, so they will not see any of this information, and it will be in no way considered as part of the evaluation and determination of grant awards. Okay. What does this mean for your grant application? It's going to be a little bit of work and we'll talk about what that is in a minute, but need to take reasonable steps to ensure that the responses are complete and accurate. You're going to need to connect with your staff and your board members to collect information about financial contributions made to any LA County officials before beginning the application. And then you want to prepare the information so that you can have it to complete at the time of the application, so that you can input that information prior to the deadlines. That's super important. And then we're asking you to fill out the form to the best of your ability, providing the information requested. Okay. I think before we get into the parts of the form, this is a good time to answer general questions. I may defer some of them, but if there are questions in the chat about what it is. And Angela, we'll get to yours. Let's see. Heather, can you help me with the questions here?
Sure. Most of the questions have been asking about if they need to fill out this form, if they're a past grantee, a current grantee. So just to say it out loud, if you're applying this cycle to organizational grant program, community impact arts grants, or arts internship program, you do need to, this will be part of the application that you need to complete in order to move your application and submit it. If you are a grantee with a current contract, but you're not applying this year, then this is information for you to be aware of, because we will be requiring it at every point in which you would be applying for funding, responding to an RFP, anything like that. But you don't need to retroactively provide this information. That's the direction we've been given. And then I think the remaining questions I'm seeing, does it apply to paid employees, board members? Yes, but let's get to that. That's the next part of the presentation. And then I think the rest of these I'm seeing will be addressed in the next part of the presentation. Okay. Yeah.
It's our first one, so we're testing it out. So thank you all for working with us here. Okay, so we're going to do a review of the form. We're going to go through each of the questions and elaborate as best we can. How's that? And Heather, jump in here. So again, the workshop is intended for use by applicants and does not constitute legal advice. Our counsel said to include that multiple times in here to make it ultra clear. All right, to begin, so depending on which grant application you're applying to, you'll start by naming what kind of organization you are. A nonprofit organization, or a Model A physically sponsored organization, a tribal government, or a municipal agency. Note for the OGP grant, because municipal agencies are not eligible for that grant, you're not going to see this question because the questions are the same for both nonprofit organizations and tribal governments. Okay. So easiest question of them all. So we'll go through the questions for the nonprofits, Model A fiscally sponsored organization, and tribal governments. Question 1, does your organization have a parent, subsidiary, fiscal sponsor, or related organization, including a related political organization or committee? Collectively, we'll call related organizations at this point. So does your organization have, are you a chapter of a larger organization? Or if you're fiscal sponsored, clearly you're under a larger organization that is supporting you, or have any related organizations as part of your thing. If yes, we just want to know the names here. Question 2. Does your organization, inclusive of any related organizations named above, have any paid employees that, 1, have appeared or will appear before or communicate with the county to influence the county's decision about the grant award? Note here, do not list individuals whose communications with the county are not for the purpose of influencing decisions about the grant award. And that's an important piece, is that following up with the grants team to clarify things or work through kind of basic administration to make sure your grant application is done right, things like that, that does not constitute influence, the purposes of influencing. So regular communications with the grants team, okay, lobbying to get a better score, like those things, not okay. Or here's our second one, have authority for the organization to make decisions about contributions. So if you're in an organization and you have the authority to direct contributions to a county officer, that would be a yes. And then question 2A, if yes, list their names and titles. Okay. All right. Question 3. Does your
can I just make,
absolutely,
just because I see some of the questions in here, go back just one. I just want to underscore, as it is underscored here, this is only related to paid employees. So, and there's questions about do independent contractors count? In this question, it's referring to paid employees. There is another section that talks about representatives, which also includes in other people that you pay that you don't have an employee-employer relationship with. But I wanted to underscore this is about paid employees. Okay, next.
Yeah, and to be really, really clear, underlying this all is individuals whose communications are for the purpose of influencing the decisions about the grant award, right? So what I just said here as part of the first clause of this question 2, do not list individuals who do not whose communications with the county are not for the purposes of influencing. So I think that's a good thing to keep in mind for the whole thing, because what they're trying to do is screen for organizations or individuals who are trying to influence the way contracting in the county is going in their favor. Okay. All right, question 3. Does your organization, inclusive of any related organizations named above, have paid board members? Generally, I think we know from our experience with grantees, generally the case is no, but there are some instances where your organization would have paid board members. And this is paid for their role as board members. If you hold dual roles, are you paid for your board member? If you're also the executive director, that's a different role. So making that distinction as a board member, a board member who's paid for the role as a board member. Because I know a lot of small organizations are part of our grant pool. And then if yes, list their names and their title/role. Question 4, and we're just asking about who at this point, and then we'll get to the next portion of this. Question 4, Does or will your organization, inclusive of any related organizations named above, pay other individuals, such as but not limited to consultants, lobbyists, or attorneys, to communicate with the county county employees or officers on behalf of your organization to influence the county's decision about this grant award? And again, this is individuals that are not employees and are not board members. So this is category 3, not employees, not board members, but outside consultants, lobbyists, attorneys, or other agents to do this. And jump in, Heather, you have stuff.
I think this is where the independent contractor comes in. But I want to highlight again, this is paid individuals that the question here is about, do you pay individuals to communicate with county employees or officers on behalf of your organization to influence the county's decision about this grant award? So I see some questions in the chat asking about, we pay our choral members. Does that make a difference? The question is, do those choral members contact and communicate with the county to influence the county's decision about the grant award? So that's the question that needs to be answered to determine if you need to list them at this part of the form or not.
Right. And to Kevin's question, meaning grant proposal writers, no. The grant proposal writer is part of the normal process of submitting an application. If that grant proposal writer was then taking additional actions to try to influence the outcome of that application, then you would need to list them.
Okay, let's keep going and we'll come back to the questions.
Yeah,
I think
we'll come back to them.
Yeah. So put your questions in the chat. We're going to go through them methodically at the end.
Okay. So if you put any names in questions 2, 3, or 4 that qualified, now we're asking you on question 5, did any individuals listed above make one or more contributions totaling $250 in the past 12 months to any county supervisor, another elected county officer, or any other county officer or employee? If yes, provide the following information: date the contribution was made, the name of the contributor, name of the officer that received the contribution, and the amount of contribution. All right. And
so just to kind of distinguish, so in the first few questions, you've identified individuals that you would need to disclose if they made contributions. So that's kind of the universe of those that you need to look into if they have made contributions that would need to be reported. And in question 5, this is the section where you would be reporting any relevant contributions.
Right. And a reminder, we're on behalf of your organization and with the intent of influencing the outcome of the grant application, right? All right, so, and then question 6. In the past 12 months, has your organization, or inclusive of any related organizations named above, asked or directed your employees or agents to make a contribution to a county supervisor, another elected county officer, or any other county officer or employee, either through fundraising events, communications, or any other way? So has your organization directed people to contribute? And then 6A, if yes, date the contribution was solicited or directed, the name of the recipient officer, and the amount of the contribution that was directed or solicited. For nonprofits, Model A fiscally sponsored organizations, and tribal governments, those are the 6 questions. There's no more to it than that. We'll go through the municipal agencies. I don't know if there are any representatives from municipal agencies. I imagine the bulk of our participants here are nonprofits, fiscal sponsors, or tribal governments. We'll go through the other ones, then we'll come back for questions. So for municipal agencies, really similar. Does your agency have any paid non-employee and/or any other paid representative, such as an attorney, lobbyist, or consultant, was communicated or will communicate with the county about this application? And then if yes, list such paid non-employees. If you answered yes to question 1. Questions 2 and 3 will apply. So question 2, look at that mistake. Do any of the paid non-employees and or representatives listed above have any decision-making authority for your agency related to this grant application? Okay. And then question 3 here. Did any of the paid non-employees or representative listed above make one or more contributions totaling more than $250 in the past 12 months to any county supervisor, another elected county officer, or any other county officer or employee? And then if yes, same questions as before, please let us know the date of contribution, the date the contribution was made, the name of the contributor, the name of the officer that received the contribution, and the amount of contribution. Okay.
I'll just add too here that if you are with a municipal agency, this is the same language that's being used by the Board of Supervisors for their Levine Act compliance for applications for funding that they consider. I would recommend also checking in with your city attorney or other legal head of your legal department to make sure that you're answering these things correctly, because all this applies to the state. It applies to all cities in the state and all counties in the state.
Yeah, and if you're applying to other, for everybody, if you're applying to other government agencies, we're all in the process of rolling up to be compliant with the state law. So this is the first rollout for our grants, and I'm not sure what other cities or other agencies have been doing for their grants quite yet. So there's that. And then at the end, we'll finish this out, is by checking this box, it's an attestation. By checking this box, you attest that you made a reasonably diligent investigation regarding the organization/agency that is seeking a grant award, and the responses to the questions in this contribution and agent contribution declaration form are true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief. So we're asking you just to attest that you did your diligence to put in the right information here. And then we'll get to the for all applications, there's an important piece of this regarding future agents and future contributions, because it's a snapshot in time when you submit your application. But they want to know if after you submit the application, are you engaging future agents or directing contributions to, again, for the purposes of influencing your application or award for this particular grant. So I'll read this again. By checking this box, you also agree that if your organization/agency hires an agent during the course of these proceedings and has compensated or will compensate them for communicating with the county about this grant application, you or your organization will inform the county of the identity of the agent and the date of their hire. You also agree to disclose to the county any future contributions made to members of the Board of Supervisors, another elected county officer, or any other county officer or employee by your organizations, agencies, paid agents who have communicated or will communicate with the county about this grant application after the date of signing this disclosure form and within 12 months following the approval, renewal, or extension of the requested grant award. So this is, again, proactive. We're asking you in the next proceedings, please tell us if you've hired an agent or directed contributions to a county officer. And then to make this easy, any follow-up, we've created 2 web forms that you can go to. It lists these questions again, where you can submit this and be compliant with that.
These will be added to our web page for Levine Act compliance so that you can access these forms to provide updates.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm going to stop sharing screen because it's not important This is
And
not,
then again,
this
one more
does not
time.
constitute as legal advice.
Yes.
All right. Let me stop sharing and we can start working through the questions here. Heather,
Right.
you want to help me out? Where do we leave off?
Sure. Yeah, so I think we'll go back up to the top just in case there's anyone that joined a little bit late. So I think starting with Charles, this is the requirement for current grantees or for new applications. Just to reiterate, it is a requirement for new applications. It does not apply to any open awards or grants you might already have.
Mhm.
It is something that will be requiring kind of at the point of application for grants, funding opportunities, contracts going forward.
Mhm.
Okay. Then we have, does it apply only to paid employees and board members? Yes. You're disclosing or you're listing people, as it says in the application, that are paid employees and board members. Uh, Please confirm that the term staff as used in the Levine Act does not include independent contractors. Example, website, IT specialists, audio recording personnel, advertising design artists that our 501c3 organizations use in our normal operations. So we made the distinction in the presentation that there is a section to identify employees that may need to disclose, that will need to disclose potential contributions. Independent contractors also would be required to disclose contributions, but only if they meet the the answer to the question is that they are contacting the county, communicating with the county with the intent to influence a county decision about this application. So a website or IT specialist, unless they're calling up officers, county supervisors to say you should fund this organization, you would not need to list them.
Same for teaching artists and
Mhm.
other all of the people in an organization's kind of orbit of how you do your operations between for programming or administration.
Right. Okay, the next question from Wendy. How do we need to report who do we need to report contributions from? Staff, board members, the organization itself. You are reporting from staff and board members that are paid, that are contacting the county, communicating with the county to influence a decision about the grant application. You're also reporting contributions from employees of your organization that the organization directed or encouraged or invited to support a county officer. So that's also, I think, question 6 in the application.
Mhm.
Jocelyn asks, our board members are not paid, so do their contributions apply? They would not apply.
Nope.
Okay. How is LA County official defined here? So Brandon, maybe pull up the presentation one more time.
Sure.
We weren't able to get a more definitive definition for LA County official because the universe of officials, based on the way the law was written, is extremely broad. So to list all commissioners, to list all county employees that are potentially heading up a political action committee, et cetera, would be too much. The county is not providing additional definition or specification or list of who qualifies as a county employee. This is the language that they're using. So what I would say is sending this information to those that have that you need to disclose information about and asking them what their contribution, if they contributed to a county supervisor, another elected county officer, or any other county officer or employee through fundraising events, communications, or any other way, and letting them make that determination to disclose. I'm sorry,
And
we can't give more. I wish
yeah,
we could give more definition to that, but we're not able to.
yeah. And in the county, there are 5 elected supervisors, an elected assessor, elected district attorney, and an elected sheriff.
Yes.
Those are the 8 elected officials within the
Mhm.
county.
Okay. From admin, the 250 limit is per individual or is it 250 per organization? So it is a it's really a contribution to of $250 or more to a county officer. by an individual person. So, for example, if you had two people that would need to disclose their contributions, they both contributed to the same county officer, they gave $50 each, that wouldn't need to be reported. If you had a one person that gave, or let's say you had two people, one person that gave $200 and then another contribution of another $100 for one county officer, that would need to be reported here.
Mhm.
And there are a million permutations of that,
Yes.
but hopefully that made that clear. Is there sample wording for the questions we should be asking board or staff? I think if you send the template that's provided on our website and highlight what Brandon just went through, that language about county officer, what was it again? If you could maybe bring that up.
Oh, yeah. Back and forth.
Yeah, you can just leave it up, I think.
Okay.
There we go. County supervisor, another elected county officer, or any other county officer or employee. That is, we provided the template there for you so that you could circulate that around to the folks in your organizations to collect the information needed.
Mm-hmm.
From Nicole, we've been getting OGP grant for several years. Do we need to submit this form? And it's been answered, but yes, you need to, if you're applying to this cycle to OGP, then yes, you would need to fill this out as part of your application. It will be required. You actually won't be able to submit your application without completing this form. Okay, great. Is it correct this applies to any county elected official or candidates? Believe it says not candidates, but county elected officials, as it's stated here.
Mm-hmm.
County supervisor, another elected county officer, or any other county officer or employee. Okay, I think this is a similar question to something above. When you were asking about donations to the board of supervisors, you were referring to the organization and not to individuals who are on the board of the organization. We are talking about the individuals. The questions are to speak to the individuals that are paid by your organization that are communicating or contacting the county with the intent to influence the award of a grant of this application. Or board members that are paid who are communicating or contacting the county to influence the decision about an award to this related to your application you're submitting. Okay, one more. Let's see. Do you consider LLCs a yes for question 1? I would say yes. That would be relevant information to include.
Yep, but check with internally, like what is the relationship, official relationship. So if you've got board members or attorneys, or seek the correct counsel before just answering yes. But an LLC might be a likely related organization.
If you meet with a county supervisor or deputy, but it's unrelated to the OGP grant, do we have to report this? So I would go back to the second question, question number 2. Is that the individual that's meeting with them, this county supervisor, are they paid employees? And are they communicating to influence the county's decision about this grant award? Okay.
And then what do the payments represent? We are a choral organization where some singers are paid. Is that relevant? Only if your singers are paid to influence the county's decision about this grant award.
Right. Okay, I think we answered this one, meaning grant proposal writers. We said, no, that's not an automatic disclosure requirement, only if that grant writer is also contacting the county to influence the county's decision about the grant application. Okay. As a theater that pays actors, designers, directors, and publicists, are they considered employees? Independent contractor rules in California have changed. So we can't, I think either way, whether they're employees or independent contractors, they will be, the question you need to answer to determine if you need to list them is if they are contacting the county, communicating with the county to influence the county's decision about the grant award. And I'll just add too, we haven't really talked about this after the or they have authority for the organization to make decisions about contributions.
Right.
So if they don't have that kind of authority, you wouldn't need to list them here.
Right.
Okay. Can you give some examples of how, where, when we might have the opportunity to communicate with county employees or officers to influence grant awards? I think that could be phone calls, it could be meetings, it could be, making comments at a public comment in a public meeting. Those could be considered opportunities about influencing grant awards. But again, it really depends on the nature of those conversations, what is being said, and the context.
And advocacy for the arts is different than advocacy for your application for a grant award.
Right. Okay, next question from Leslie. Do we have to poll the teaching artists who are occasionally employed by our organizations? Only if they meet one of these criteria. They have appeared or will appear before or communicate with the county to influence the county's decision about this grant award, or they have authority for your organization to make decisions about contributions. Otherwise, they are not part of your universe of disclosure. So you only report contributions, question from Bailey, only report contributions if there were conversations about influencing grant outcomes. I'll go back to the language here in question 2 and elsewhere in the application in the form. That's kind of up to the discretion and the knowledge that organizations have about the nature of conversations. The question is if there are paid employees, paid representatives, paid board members that have appeared or will appear before communicate with the county to influence the decision about this grant application, or have authority to make decisions about contributions. I'm sorry, I keep going back to the questions, but I apologize. Yeah. It's really, we're just trying to bring it back to here. There's, it's really at you all know your organizations best, the nature of your organizations, and who, I think sharing this information with those that have that check these boxes within your organization is the best way to gather the information. Okay,
and if you're your general process is to submit the grant application, and walk away, and wait for the disposition and the award letters and all of that come later in the year, I don't think you're not having employees advocate and try to influence this, right?
Right.
So like, without telling what it is or isn't, like, I don't see this as incredibly common.
Right. Going to we're getting close to the end of 7 new messages. Getting close to the end. Okay, so membership in organizations such as Arts for LA, again, making the distinction between general arts advocacy and membership in an advocacy organization. That's great. It doesn't make anything automatically required for disclosure. Here, we're talking about a specific universe of paid employees, paid board members, and other paid representatives. If your organization does, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you engaged Arts for LA specifically for the reason of influencing the county's decision about your award, then yes, you would disclose that.
If your organization does not make any contributions as an organization, does this question apply? You still need to I'm not sure which question this is referring to. But if you don't make contributions and no one in your organization is making contributions, then you would just indicate no for those questions and make the attestation and sign the attestation at the end.
Mhm.
The question applies to, question 2, does your organization have paid employees that have the authority to make decisions about contributions, such as a paid executive director? You would need to list the paid executive director if
Mhm.
they have the authority for the organization to make decisions about contributions. Whether or not they made contributions or the organization made contributions, not asking for that here. It's just about authority.
Mhm.
So to clarify, only contributions by paid people who try to influence your grant application need to be declared.
Nailed it.
Yes. Okay. Okay, I'm glad it was helpful. Okay, thank you for that. The 250 would also include cumulative multiple payments within 12 months, correct? That's correct. It's $250 for any one official made within the last 12 months by an individual.
Mhm.
Great. What if you work for the county as a freelancer? I think that I would. Is there more information here, Meg? If Meg's still on.
You can come off mute.
Yeah, come off mute if you can. But what I would say, without any more information, I would say, oh, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
I mean, I write grants for a choral group, but I work for a county supervisor as a freelancer.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not my county supervisor.
Sure. And I guess it would be an answer of like what your capacity is for the organization that you're writing that you're trying to influence the decision about the grant, right? So what does that capacity look like? If you're not paid to try to influence the county's decision, then it would not, you would not need to be listed.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, and what if a donation was made without the intention to influence? Do you need to list anyone who donated more than $250 regardless? Yes. So let's say you disclose someone who does communicate with the county to influence the county's decision about the grant award, and that person did make a contribution, then you would list it. You would declare it here. It is, like we said at the beginning of this workshop, this is for transparency purposes. So what happens after the information is collected, we will do an analysis of it to see if there have been contributions of $250 or more made that apply in response to this, and then see if there's any point in the process of approving the grant awards that anyone needs to recuse themselves from any decision or discussion or involvement in that approval process.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that answers the question. When you say authority to determine the contributions, you mean contributions received or contributions made or both? We don't make contributions as an organization. It's about contributions made.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Made to, in this case, they would be assuming contributions to county officials.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, I think we made it to the end of the questions.
Jump in if raise your hand or whatever I think is most helpful. If we missed a question, we can try to address it. All right, I don't see any. And if you haven't started your app, oh, there's Mary. Oh, there's a clap. Thank you, Mary. So if
Marissa,
you haven't started,
yeah, thanks, Marissa.
Yeah. If you haven't started your application, the way this will appear in SM Apply, it is one of the tasks that you'll have to complete as part of the overall grant application. We built some logic into it. So it's not going to show you, if you mark no, it's not going to, it's going to move on to the next question and things like that. So just follow it through. It will lead you there and only ask you the relevant questions based on the previous answer. So hoping that makes things a little more clear as part of this process. Like I said, the other thing that we're going to be doing is keeping our website up to date. We're going to look at these questions, see if the questions that were asked, which is why we asked you to put them in the chat. So see if we need to add anything to our current FAQ for clarity for you as grantees or other potential grant applicants who are going through the same process you all are. I think that's it. Anything else, Heather?
No, I just want to say thank everyone for their for your time, for attending this and getting additional information. We understand that it's an additional thing to do, so we appreciate your patience and effort to complete it so that we can stay in compliance and move this this program through the process. So thank you, everybody.
All right. With that, thank you. Have a good day and good luck on your applications. All right. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.